Benefactor underwriting for this broadcast has been provided by a grant from Republic Bank. The power of red is back. Major underwriting support for this broadcast has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, M&T Bank, Perfect Building Maintenance, Customers Bank, Collins Building Services, Marks Paneth. Additional underwriting support has been provided by grants from AmTrust Title, Bank of America, Capital One Bank, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties LLC, Handler Real Estate Organization, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Catsimatidis Red Apple Group, New Banks, Meridian Capital Group, OceanFirst Bank, RPW Group, TD Bank, the One Stop Property Group, and these friends. Oh, Crystal Apple. Okay. You know, we're here, it's September of 2022, and we're looking at my Crystal Apple and saying, what's happening in the real estate market? Should you be involved with industrial, office, hospitality, retail? I don't know the answer. So today I've assembled two real estate owner-operators and a banker who lends money on real estate. My guests include Joe Farkas, the founder and CEO of Metropolitan Realty Associates; Lester Petracca, who is the founder and chairman and CEO of Triangle Equities; and last but not least, as I said, my banker friend over here, Dan Harris, who is the president of the New York region and the chief real estate lending officer for OceanFirst Bank. So these people cannot survive without you. So tell me what do you like, what do you dislike, and so on.
We can't survive without them either.
That's why it's a mutual relationship.
We work together, of course, a mutual relationship, and it's a cautionary time, but every deal we look at uniquely. We're seeing a lot of deal flow. We're quoting a lot of deals. We're winning a lot of deals. We're closing a lot of deals, but you have to be selective. So obviously the hot items right now are in industrial. Particularly close to urban centers. Multifamily remains very, as the rates go up, less people can buy homes. The rental market looks like it's continuing to stay strong, and obviously in New York, the market rent units have exploded in rates. Certain retail continues to be very strong. You have to be selective. You have to look for credit tenants, and certain food anchored centers continue to be strong. And offices, one-off. You have to look at every office deal separately and understand the demographics and the uses. I mean, in New York City, we're still just getting to 50% occupied, and it's kind of a lagging indicator because people still have leases, and until those leases expire, you really don't know how the office industry is going to shake out. So, at OceanFirst, we look at everything, we consider everything, but clearly right now that the favored food groups are industrial, multifamily, some retail, and some office, depending on what it is.
So you are the king of industrial today. Okay, I mean,
very kind of you.
No. Let me put it this way: the flavor of the day, as Dan was saying, is industrial, and you've captured a good portion of the industrial market. Right. So how do you determine where you like to do industrial, what type of tenants you want to lease to, and so on?
Yeah, fair question. We've definitely focused a majority of our time on the industrial sector of the market, but we've really been selective about the markets and have tried to create niche opportunities for ourselves, not be as broad. We're not leaving the New York metropolitan area, and we've chosen the Long Islands. We're very focused on Long Island City, where we just purchased a $100 million deal with Morgan Stanley right on the Newtown Creek, the Mana Products Building. Love that deal. And we're also very focused on Long Island proper, Nassau and Suffolk County, where we raised a large industrial fund with my partners at Angelo Gordon to buy single-story and in most cases single-tenant industrial deals. And we've been very successful at that.
Last mile?
It's all warehouse, I consider at this point to be some sort of last mile,
So-
but definitely distribution.
Question.
Yes.
You prefer Nassau over Suffolk?
I like Suffolk County really for the taxes. Taxes for the tenants are, we'll just call it $1.75 to $2.25 versus Nassau County, which is known for typically high taxes even for their industrial. So there's really strong benefits to being there, and the IDAs are very active in Suffolk County as well. So industrial development agencies are giving tenants and landlords through construction or new occupancy discounts, on their taxes and making even more affordable. So we found some great deals there over the last 18 months, and we're building a great portfolio.
Speaking of that, Lester, you're involved with industrial, but you're building a different type of industrial in New York City. So let's talk about that.
Well, yeah, we are at the back door of JFK. We have a 300,000 square foot center going, which is 2 levels. Tractor trailers come up to the 2nd floor. What we are seeing is there is an insufficient amount of Class A industrial space in New York City right now. Most of the product is 50 years old or older, low ceilings, not big floor plates. And so I think it's a safe place, as Dan said, to be focused. So we continue to look at the industrial market. We like Nassau and Suffolk, and again, Suffolk a little easier to find land and to be able to build. And the rents are way up on the industrial, as Joe probably knows, and Dan knows. We're getting low 30s in the city.
Yeah, that's terrific. We own 2 multi-level industrial buildings. One is Hub LIC, which my partners are the folks at Nuveen Real Estate. We own, that building's a 350,000 square foot multi-level building where we signed a 220,000 foot lease with New York City Department of Transportation. And the great thing about a lot of these buildings in Long Island City are the grade changes. So you can have a 3-story building that really acts like a 2-story building and have grade access on the ground floor and have grade access on the 2nd floor using an elevator to get to the 3rd floor. So it really makes the leasing so much easier. A lot of these older manufacturing buildings that we find through the city, 4, 5, 6 stories that are trying to lease as industrial, much harder to sell to the tenants. Our Mana building, which is also in Long Island City, is an incredible building, 21-foot clear ceiling heights on all 3 floors, which is unheard of. We have 4 great elevators that run both sides of the building. Ingress and egress is incredible, but I wouldn't build a ground-up multi-level building. I think the construction prices are just way too high, and I'm very concerned about continuing rental rate rises if tenants can really afford the rents that it takes to build some of these specialized buildings.
What's your position with regard to city leases?
We love looking at deals that have city leases or state leases in them.
I love
Historically, they have a
We all do.
They have a 1-year termination provision, which as a lender is a real problem. But I'm seeing lately longer-term city leases have riders where they've negotiated that away. So that seems to be less prevalent. But the first thing we're looking at right now in the city, and we love the deal, it's credit tenants, but it's municipal leases. First thing is, the top of the thing is, provided there's no termination, because from a lender's perspective, as much as we love the tenant and the difficulty to move, you have to assume people leave in extensions. That's just what you have to do as a lender. And then you look at secondary backups, and if it's a large chunk of the building, depending on leverage, it can be a showstopper.
Yeah, fortunately, in our deal with the city, it's a 20-year lease, so that was terrific. But you need patience. You need to have an understanding of how the city operates, what the DCAS representation of these city agencies involves, and you really have to have a cool hand and a patient partnership with them because it takes a long time to get these deals done. And everybody says, how do you do it? It's you need patience. You need an understanding.
Mr. Petracca has the patience of a saint because you have a number of city leases and state leases with motor vehicles and other places.
Well, we do, and I think Joe is 100% correct. And I think the reason those were my early deals because I came out of a public works construction background where you waited, 4 months for your payments. So it took two things. It took strong capital,
Yeah,
patience, okay?
100%.
And it's the same thing when releasing to a state tenant or a city tenant. You have to have patience. You have to understand that the wheels move slowly.
Yeah.
And you have to have the capital to carry into completion. And that's one of the reasons why, not everybody does it.
Right. People love to buy them. So it's like
Right.
building a new building. When you get a city lease done and complete and in place, it's a 3-year process. It's like you're done with construction. You're turning over a building. But people pay for the city leases because of the surety of rent payment, the great tenancy. They're very sticky. Once they're in, they're very easy to deal with. And it's great to have New York City in your building. I'm proud to have the DOT as my tenant.
Absolutely. Another thing is they're slow to move. It takes them, it takes the state in some cases 2 years from the time that they decide to move to leave.
Yeah.
So they are great tenants.
Yeah.
We were talking prior to the show and a little bit about retail. Let's talk about your thoughts about retail because you took over, as my favorite, the Stella Doro factory.
Yeah.
Made retail in the Bronx. Lester's been involved with retail all over.
Well, MRA loves retail. It's been a backbone of our business for 20 years. We're always involved in one way or another, looking at deals, developing deals, selling deals. And yes, we had a great opportunity to buy the Stella Doro cookie factory in the Bronx several years ago. And I go back and I talk with Manhattan College students. They all want a tour for their, for part of their studies. They show because we're down the block. They bring them to the building. They tell the story. And I say if that building were available today, it would never be retail. It would be last mile distribution or even self-storage.
Right.
But we're still in the retail business, and we're working in the Bronx right now on a great opportunity to do exactly what we do, find old buildings that need to be redeveloped in unique locations. This happens to be in a manufacturing zone. We're going to do another retail development. We have a tenant in tow, very interesting deal, and we have great interest from equity partners and from lenders alike that want to still take advantage of strong returns. These are deals, by the way, that are delivering 2x multiples and 20% levered returns, real returns, but retail's the place you can do that. You can't necessarily do that buying an existing industrial building in Long Island City or any of the boroughs or Nassau, Suffolk, Connecticut, Westchester. Can't do it. So parts of our business are kind of segregated where we're doing industrial for moderate returns and we're doing retail, looking at retail for the bigger, more opportunistic returns.
You've always been involved with retail.
Yes, and we still love retail. I think within our portfolio, during the pandemic, we had bankruptcies, we had people not pay rents, we saw retailers consolidating, but retail is still retail, and bricks and mortar is here to stay. There are just certain types of retail that just don't lend themselves to e-commerce. Now, e-commerce accelerated the industrial. For every $1 billion of e-commerce sales, you need about 1.2 million square feet of warehouse. But in the A locations, which we're fortunate to have most of our portfolio, retail is still alive. Just a matter, as Joe said, is where is the retail?
Yeah. Another great example of retail in an opportunistic view is our deal in Nanuet, New York, up in Rockland County. We had a Macy's department store that we converted to a new retail facility but couldn't lease our second floor. We went in during COVID for a zoning change, and fortunately the government recognized we needed a zoning change, and we were creating a self-storage facility out of an old department store, which was even a a better use for the property, and we condoed the building as well. So we're selling the ground floor to retail. We'll ultimately build and sell off the self-storage to a self-storage developer user and get great execution that way. But you have to pivot.
Let's talk about construction, and let's specifically talk about construction for residential, for rental and for sale. What's your thoughts?
Love the rental construction. It's very, from my perspective, it's very, we do a lot of it in New Jersey. We do a lot of tract housing. We do some multifamily more in New Jersey. In New York, particularly in the city, the math is hard. Just the land costs are extraordinary. 421A is gone for now, but the deals we're seeing now still have 421As, and you need very big rents for them to work. And in certain areas it works. In certain areas it's a stretch. So from a lender's perspective, I know I'm with very optimistic people here, which developers and owners tend to be, and we're the bank, so not as much. We see a lot of deals that have just finished, just got their TCO or their CFO, and they're looking to leverage it, and it's mostly leased, and it's at rents that are 10, 15 bucks more square foot than the neighboring area. It's full, it's proof of concept, but it's still hard for us to be comfortable leveraging something at that level. It's like leveraging a market rent building today when rents are up 25, 30% in the last 12 months, and using today's rents as our math to lever.
Also the fact that interest rates are up?
Well, interest rates have been the biggest challenge for all of us. I mean, the Fed's up 2.25% since the beginning of the year. We are lending in the mid-3s for 5 or 7 year paper. Late last year, beginning of the year, now that number is in the high 4s, low 5s, like everyone else, give or take. So things that would size comfortably from a cash flow perspective in January don't size anymore. And the only way to address that is to reduce leverage.
Low leverage is always the key.
Low leverage, we love low
success. You really have to be careful when
everything
you're
works at low
underwriting,
leverage.
Everything, right.
Everything works at low leverage.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One area that you haven't touched on, but is getting better, is the hospitality. Have you ever thought of getting involved with the hospitality industry?
If that's directed to me, I'm done with resume building.
I mean, you've been in so many different areas during your career, that's why.
Well, I mean, MRA specializes in industrial, retail, and office. The office business we left smartly several years ago, not because of COVID. It was really because we couldn't find an angle or a niche play to get into the heated, or I would say overheated, New York Metropolitan office business. And fortunately, we left at the right time, got into retail, and really started ramping up industrial in 2016. But hotels, no.
I think we've been in every aspect of the real estate business, to be honest with you. We developed a hotel in College Point. We had one planned in Staten Island. I think that's gone. I think it was going to be residential. Planned on. We changed it to a hotel, and we're changing it back to multi-family residential. Not starting to narrow a little bit our focus. We own office. We see some opportunity in flex. We're going to be doing some flex space in Staten Island at the base of a 116 unit housing development we're doing, which has retail.
And that also has 421As.
That has 421A, which is what has the rental market, I don't quite say it was on fire, but has increased quarter after quarter, because I think a lot of projects are in stall mode right now because of the 421A, and we do have 421A, and we're continuing to build. I mean, we're building 400 units in New Jersey and 85,000 square feet of retail. The retail we look for today, it tends to be, supermarket anchored, like an Aldi. There's ShopRite, because, again, I think bricks and mortar retail is here, but I think location and mix is very, very important.
Yeah, I think what Lester said about narrowing your focus is exactly what the banks are doing. We have loans on all commercial real estate property types, but considering the rates, considering where we are recession potential wise, we're being a little more conservative on the retail or on the office. maybe less so in the industrial. Multifamily is a great asset type, but the pricing is extraordinarily thin for a lender, and competing with the agencies is always challenging. So we're all doing the same thing. We're kind of saying, okay, let's we'll do almost anything at the right leverage, but we're not going to do the full office loan right now, or maybe the full retail loan right now that we might have done 6 or 8 months ago. And that may just be temporary, but for now it's like, let's narrow our focus and be really conservative in those food groups that are not clear where we're going to come out the other side.
With regard to, I don't want to call it senior housing because I'm not a senior, okay, none of the guys over here are seniors in the group. You went into Kensington and built these townhouses, basically, right?
That is correct, yeah. It's 80 units of luxury townhouse out in Woodbury, Long Island. 70 of the units are sold. Product pricing starts at about $1.1 million.
Okay, they were 55 and older?
55 and over. It actually was a horse farm, so Kensington has a horse theme to it. And it's been very successful. And again, I think, somewhat due to the pandemic where with the housing in the suburbs increasing so dramatically with people leaving the city, people were able to sell their home and downsize into a very nice product, because it is a beautiful project. They deal with nothing. Yeah, absolutely. It's gated. It's 24/7 on guard service. On the front gate, and clubhouse. Not big enough for a golf course, obviously, but it's a beautiful product in a very nice area.
Definitely a pickleball court.
Tennis courts.
Pickleball.
Not for long. Orthopedics love pickleball.
Yeah, that's a great project.
Thank you.
I watched that go up.
Yeah, thank you.
Very, very well done.
And what's your thoughts about independent living? Okay, ironically, my son-in-law's father is moving into an independent living in White Plains as opposed to an age restricted. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts about that?
We do some independent living. A lot of the deals we see are the whole package, from independent to assisted care to memory care, if that's part of it, and then to nursing home. And
right,
I'm not an expert enough to understand the last phases.
But that's a CCCR. That's a continuing care retirement. I'm talking about this in White Plains on Bloomingdale Road. There's this development that's being built. It's all independent. They don't have any health care opportunities over there. God forbid somebody gets sick, doesn't have it.
Right.
Are you interested in that type of deal? Or?
Yeah, we look at that.
Because basically that, in a way, is a safety. It's exactly what we were talking about before, people selling their houses, deciding to have
It's kind of a vertical explanation of what you've done, right, with Kensington. It's the vertical
It's
of
a
that.
vertical coupled with the fact that you have 2 meals a day,
Right.
and you have a clubhouse, you have everything else. And it's also restricted. I don't think it starts at 65. I think it starts at the 55-year-old over there.
Does it start that young? I'm not familiar with the product, to be honest.
I'm 35. I know nothing about that business at all.
So if somebody came to you, a young guy today, and this is for all of you, a young guy or a young lady, in real estate, what would you recommend them to getting involved with? I mean, I've done your life story, so I know your careers, both you and you.
Oh, I think I'd recommend, today, look, I think industrial is, we're talking about New York City, right? I think industrial is a safe bet for a while, and I think multifamily is where I would send them.
See, I come at it a little differently because sectors change all the time. So from my perspective and how I was able to learn the business.
I mean, people realize that you were involved with appraisals at one time.
Well, that's where I was going with it. So I think the foundation of understanding value is where you get your business acumen and investment acumen from. And had I not started in the Cushman & Wakefield appraisal division back, I hate to say it, it's 37 years ago or so, I wouldn't have had the understanding of how investments really worked and returns and what investors look for. So I tend to tell people that want to take a broad view into the investment world, before you jump into a private equity situation that's investing in real estate, or working for an operating company like MRA or Mr. Petracca's company, or for a bank for that matter, understand the foundations and try your hand at appraisal.
Get an oversight.
Get an overview of the business.
And you, Dan?
As a banker, the beauty of being on the bank side is I get to size 10 deals a day. And my people get to size and look at 10 real live deals a day and make decisions whether we want to invest in them. So you see an incredibly broad range of properties. You don't spend weeks and weeks on it analyzing it.
Right.
So you see a great breadth. So I think that's terrific training for a younger person coming out of school.
I find this fascinating. I came from a construction background, so I knew the construction inside and out. I functioned as a general contractor. We did street and road, we did bridge work, we did building work, and you get a real understanding of the construction business, how it functions, how to control a contractor, because they need to be controlled.
Sure.
And so that's an interesting place to come from, and something that when I first started, something the banks really appreciated was my background in construction, because a lot of people get hurt in the construction mode without really understanding it. So it's very, and I think appraisal is wonderful.
Yeah.
So
I just
think
never really thought of it.
In
but-
conclusion, I think there are opportunities. I think you have to look at them. You have to search the areas of opportunity. And I think we're going to have a good 2022, 2023. I'd like to thank Joe, Lester, Dan, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.